This is a case where really, nobody won in the end. It's tragic. It's terrible. In 1989, Patty Stallings, she was a store clerk in St. Louis. She rushed her infant boy, Ryan, to the hospital. He was vomiting excessively, having trouble breathing, changing colors right in front of her. Doctors ran tests. They concluded that that the child had been poisoned with antifreeze. He died in their care 4 days later, and immediately Patty was arrested for first-degree murder, and the prosecutor said, if she's found guilty, we're going to seek the death penalty in this case. The public was outraged at this, that this mother had killed her child. So while she's in jail, she's awaiting trial, she gave birth to another son, David Jr., on February 17th, 1990. He's placed in foster care immediately. He had been nowhere near the mother. But yet, a month later, in March, he developed the exact symptoms that killed his brother a month before. So, putting the evidence together, a doctor diagnosed David with, I'm going to take a stab at it. It's called MMA, and that's what we'll call it here, methylmalonic acidemia. It's a genetic condition that the body produces. A compound, it can easily mimic antifreeze poisoning. So, with the correct treatment, David recovered. The little boy recovered. But he's still kept away from his mother, who is still in jail, accused of murder. The prosecutor, by the way, he didn't buy this. He said, no, this woman's a killer. MMA doesn't make any sense. The diagnosis is wrong, plain and simple. And then adding to his case was the fact that Patty's lawyers, who, in all fairness, weren't medically trained, and this is a complicated case, they just couldn't produce evidence that she was innocent. They had a theory that it was MMA. In May of 1990, this defense attorney, Eric Rathbone, managed to get copies of notes written by Assistant Prosecutor John Applebaum that indicated that the doctor who pronounced Ryan, the little boy who died, dead, had considered, in fact, the possibility of MMA and left it in his report. But also, that doctor had not tested Ryan for MMA. So why, I don't know. A biochemist, William Sly, he agreed to test Ryan's blood in an autopsy. He gave it to Dr. Shoemaker, or James Shoemaker, MD, PhD, Director of Metabolic Screening Lab in St. Louis University. So this guy's got the background to make this decision. Shoemaker immediately confirms that Ryan had MMA. He said there's no doubt about it. Shoemaker then asked the prosecutor for the method that had been used to reach this theory that the child, had been poisoned. And the prosecutor, this guy McElroy, supplied that information. When the method was used, that the prosecutor said was used, that when the method was used on the blood from Ryan and DJ being the newborn child in foster care, it was seen that the propionic acid, which is produced in MMA, caused a result that a careless observer, this is the word of her prosecuting team, careless observer might make in mistaking it for poisoning. So basically, when they sent the blood down to the lab to find out what happened, the lab came up with, well, she's been poisoned first thing, and didn't bother to go a step closer. That's not acceptable. I mean, they knew this would lead to a felony, to a murder charge. Why the doctor didn't go a step further, who knows. Anyway, Shoemaker, he sent samples of the spiked blood to several laboratories who tested it with the same methods used in the Stalling case. Some of the laboratories came to the incorrect conclusion that the blood reflected glycol poisoning, in other words, the antifreeze poisoning. Finally, the prosecutor, McElroy, was convinced that Ryan, in fact, had not been poisoned. By then, Patty had been in prison for 2 years. Her child died in front of her. She's accused of murdering him, and her other newborn child is ripped from her and placed into care in foster care. How awful. So anyway, she was finally released in 1991. She sued, thank God, the hospital. She sued the laboratories that were involved in Ryan's care, and they reached an out-of-court settlement, and I do hope it was substantial. The prosecutor apologized to her, but still, in 1994, McElroy, the prosecutor, ran for re-election as Jefferson County prosecutor, and Stallings donated $10,000 to his opponent's campaign, and the opponent